What's good, everybody, and welcome to First Look, the series where we see how some of the draft's top prospects have fared early on in their seasons. In this one, we have one of the more popular high school stars of the last several years in Gonzaga's Chet Holmgren. Chet is a 7'1", 195-pound big who boasts a 7'5" wingspan and great agility. He's had some ups and downs throughout this first third of the season, but he's been hitting his stride lately, albeit against mostly lesser competition. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into some of the parts of his unique game. One thing that's for sure and undebatable about Chet's game is his ability to block shots and protect the rim. That was apparent pre-Gonzaga, and it's been a consistent and leading piece of what he's done so far this year. Right now he's averaging about 3.5 blocks a game, which is good for third in the nation. His length, instincts, timing, and ability to stay vertical is matched by very few. He's not your Dwight Howard, explosive, send it to the fifth row type of shot blocker, but he's going to be in position and make life difficult for even the best of players at the rim.
Can't relax just because we have this lead. Our attention to detail at the defensive end has been outstanding. Seconds to play. To the basket. Zags have hit 3 of their first 6 shots. Holmgren. On Gary launching. There is Bediako on the offensive glass, and Holmgren blocks.
The next part of his defensive game that is widely apparent is how good he is on the perimeter. He's a very fluid athlete who does a great job of flipping his hips to contest jump shots, but also take the proper angle to make it rough at the rim.
Home on three-point shooters. That's allowing roll opportunities for Nemhard. He's taken advantage of it the last couple possessions.
Small with it again. Step back. That's it.
In the pick and roll, Chet has played several different coverages, most of which he's been really good at. He could definitely improve his timing, but he's done his job even against the best of the pick and roll scoring threats they face this year. Opponents are shooting just 28% total against him. He's allowing a combined 4 for 29 on post-ups and shots around the basket, and 3 for 11 on isolations.
Top offensive rebounder for this Gonzaga team. He's having a strong night. He's got 12.
Now the closeout wasn't great on this play, but he does a great job of flipping his hips and taking the right angle to make a finish really tough for Paulo. And he mentioned in his presser how Chet makes it tough at the rim.
He's a game changer on defense. I had a couple layups that usually against anybody else I would score or it'd be a dunk, but because Chet's down there, I wasn't able to finish.
It's always a theme for Gonzaga with the schedule they play, and there is some stuff Chet will still want to prove against the tougher competition that we'll get into. But on this end, he's been almost exactly what I expected.
He's really good too. There's lots of those really good players.
Chet has shown the potential to be a real threat as a passer and to a lesser extent as a ball handler. We'll get into the handle a little more later, but at the minimum he can comfortably bring it up the court at that size and give you a behind the back or two, which is definitely not normal. I feel like if you watched him prior to Gonzaga, especially in the World Championships this summer, you could see the passing potential there a little more, but this season, at least from a stationary position at the top of the key, or maybe with a few dribbles, it's been at least intriguing.
14-6. Montgomery 36% from behind the arc. One of the few three-point shooters. Because if you don't have to go against the set defense, that's when you're going to find a lot more success. Catch by Holmgren.
As an overall offensive player, while he's been underwhelming in some areas and a bit inconsistent, he's been about efficient as possible. Pay attention to some of these numbers on the bottom of the screen. He's got tremendous touch around the basket, he's got good feel as a cutter, is always converting from the dunker spot and on offensive rebounds, and does damage in transition recently as a ball handler, but often as a trail man. It hasn't been fully realized so far this season, but when you look at his potential with the skill set that he has, just from the things he's shown in these handful of games, you have to at least be intrigued.
53-35, Alabama with the lead. Chet Holmgren.
Now to some things I'm watching going forward. It's fairly obvious what Chet's biggest hindrance has been, and it's his strength and weight. He's listed at 195 pounds, and that feels generous sometimes. Now, like we mentioned before, he really does do a tremendous job, all things considered, of using his length to counteract his deficiencies, but he's still not in a place where he or anyone else should be comfortable with him being stagnant. On post-ups, opponents are shooting just 1 for 11 on the year. Now that doesn't account for the 18% of possessions that they end up at the free throw line because he is in there doing everything within his power to try and stay in good position. But statistically, it is a bit better than you really think.
Carter in the low block, trying to use his strength on Holmgren, goes up.
Take it at the shot blocker.
Trey Mitchell here inside, gets Holmgren in the air, and he
There have been several moments this season where he's allowed an extra possession simply because his opponent can hold him off battling for rebounds. Now he does a pretty good job of finding his man and boxing out, and it's not about lack of effort or toughness, which is very good long term. He's just a bit overmatched.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, yep.
All right, the Warriors, this is Reed, a quick three. That's been for the last couple of years. D-U-K-E.
The amount of times Chet ends up on the ground has definitely been concerning, even if we're just talking about this season. These falls aren't the prettiest at 7 foot plus, but he's always quick to get up, and it shows some of that toughness that he does have. But as someone who is also challenged in the muscle mass department, he's at least gotta wear some compression pad shorts or something. Maybe he'll be just fine, bones of steel, built different, who knows, but that stuff can kinda add up quick. One thing I've noticed with him handling the ball is he can sort of disrupt the flow with some ill-attempted drives and late passes. He's not the quickest and can struggle to get all the way to the cup, but when he does get an advantage, he's often thrown off his line because of his lack of strength. And as a passer, when he has a live dribble, the passes often come out flat or slow. He struggled a bit with ball security, and it's led to some moments I think he needs to address going forward. The main offensive area that Chet has struggled is on all spot-ups and catch-and-shoot situations. These aren't all threes and they're in the half court, I want that to be clear. He's shooting just 4 for 21 on all catch-and-shoot situations. The majority of his 13 made threes this season have come in transition, often as the trail man like we mentioned earlier. But yeah, I really think that improvement as a shooter in the half court can help open up the floor for him and his teammates this year, and this of course is going to be very important going into the league.
Chet rocks and rolls. And you say he's going to get back when he gets fans, sell that place over.
And yeah, related to that, I want to see how Chet continues to develop offensively in his confidence and shot selection. In these last few games, he started to take that pull up with ease and make teams pay more in the half court. There have been flashes of that one-legged Dirk fade, which could easily be a real part of his game in the future. But for a guy like him, you just want to see him take a bit more advantage of the potential opportunities, especially in highly contested games and the eventual ones against big time talent later on. To some important games. So the West Coast Conference is actually pretty solid this year. BYU has been pretty competitive these last couple years, and that is the biggest matchup that was on Gonzaga's conference schedule. But games against San Francisco and St. Mary's are no slouch either, as they both look like tournament teams so far. But any team with a physical big man or two is a good test for Chet. Chet Holmgren was a well-decorated basketball player before ever getting to Gonzaga. He was widely considered a top 2 prospect in his high school class, getting him invites to various camps, most notably Steph Curry's, where he went viral for this highlight on the 3-time champ himself. And as I'm sure you know by now, he played high school ball with Jalen Suggs, and he won an MVP of the FIBA U19 World Cup this summer. Even though I have some concerns about certain parts of his game, Chet is pretty firmly in the top 5 to me, and I really don't see much of a justification for dropping him past there at this point in the year. Though I'm not sure he's this instant star he might have been talked up to be by some, I think he probably has the highest ceiling in the class if everything goes right for him. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and comment down below what you think of Chet's game. I'm Keandre, this is Intellect, and I'm out.
Something